Oh, actually, no, we're not. Okay. Force Awakens is upcoming. Are we live yet?
I went live again, but it's doing the same thing. So I'm
Okay.
just gonna go ahead and change the description and the title real quick, and the thumbnail.
On
Um,
on the celebration one.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
so sorry, dude. This is
I don't
so
know
annoying.
why it doesn't make any sense at all. Like that's not even like a thing anymore. But it's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess.
That's the way it was. And that's the way. I like it. Nobody? Okay.
Just gonna upload the thumbnail real quick. I don't know why it's doing that though. We'll have to look into that another time.
A good question for another time.
Yeah. Very nice.
Okay, it says to resolve the issue of streaming from a previous live stream, ensure the studio settings have the correct stream URL and stream key for the new live stream. Steps: join the studio using a computer. Achieved. Step 2: access the studio settings. Step 3: update the Steam URL and Steam key. Or stream key. Stream key!
Steam key.
Stream key. Close the settings and start the new live stream.
Weird. Yeah, I didn't have anything. Whenever I made the room, it said nothing about a stream key. So I don't know how the heck I'm supposed to do that. But
Oh, are we still live?
yeah, we went live.
All right.
I changed.
Watch your language, James.
Yeah, me.
Yeah, I changed the title, the thumbnail, all that stuff. So hopefully it's updated by now. Um,
Do we need
It
to share
has
the new link to
yes,
the
we'll need
Facebook
to
group?
share the new link.
link.
Listen.
Hey, listen.
Is somebody who or what do y'all do that? Do I need to?
I'll share it to the group.
Okay,
The
I'm
the
sharing it
uh
to the
the
chats.
actual group. Okay.
I also made sure the scheduled one was deleted, so
Cool.
that won't confuse anyone anymore. All right. I guess the garbage will do.
All right. Posted.
Awesome.
So fun, you guys. So
I
fun.
love technical difficulties. They're great.
Ah, you guys. Everybody should totally try Riverside. It's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Riverside's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It
Maybe we just
hasn't
don't know how to use it right, but I feel like this should be pretty simple because
yeah,
StreamYard
yeah.
made it super simple, so
Oh yeah.
to where even I could do it. So,
It should not be having these problems.
yeah,
But we're live now, so
we're live
We are
now.
live. We're doing it live.
Do it live. Curry says, "Not me sitting in the other one, and it goes away, and I don't notice." Sorry, buddy.
Oopsie doopsie.
Oopsie doopsie. Poopsie.
All right. Well, we ready to get into this?
I'm so ready. Oh my
We are
gosh,
ready
I'm
to
so
get into
freaking
this.
ready.
All right. Cue the intro.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Banter Fodder podcast. I'm your host, Drew, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jimmy Jam, the Walker, Texas Ranger Man, and Michael Hoover Dam.
What up?
Guys? We're back again, 2 weeks in a row after a long hiatus. It wasn't
We're really
super
doing
long,
it.
but yeah. They fly now. They're live now.
Wrong movie, guys.
They're live now. But speaking of movies, guys, have you watched anything this last week? Jimmy Jam, we'll start with you.
I have. I've watched movies this last week. I rewatched The Gentleman, which is really great.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's funnier than I remembered. Like the dialogue is so good. Colin Farrell is like on another level in this, and Charlie Hunnam is the coolest he's ever been. And the fashion of this film is like just bonkers. So that was great. I rewatched also Ghost Watch, which is gonna become like a spooky favorite. A friend came over and we're just thinking about movies to watch, and so four of us decided, me and one of my sisters had already seen it, and we're like, oh, if we're in like a spooky vibe, we should watch Ghost Watch. So we watched that. I love it. I personally love, like, whether it's found footage or just some sort of like in-universe documentation horror stuff, like the mockumentary style horror, like any kind of stuff like that. If it does a good job of selling you on the reality of itself, I love that kind of horror. So
yeah, and Ghost Watch does that excellently.
Yeah, like just for like a brief summary of this, it was basically, it's like the Orson Welles War of the Worlds type deal, where Orson Welles broadcasted a War of the Worlds series over the radio, and people tuned in thinking it was actual news, like, broadcast, and so it caused like a mini panic. And basically BBC aired this. It had like the hosts of actual BBC shows and everything, and they're like, they treat it as if it's like it's a BBC One like special, where they're like, oh, we're gonna be filming the interior of this supposedly haunted house, let's see if we find anything. And so tons of people were watching thinking it was like just real, and so people freaked out. The BBC got sued. It was there's a documentary on the fallout.
Oh my gosh.
But it's really good, and it's super convincing, because it's only an hour and a half, and you go way into it before you really see anything spooky. So they do a good job of making you think, oh, this seems like a BBC special. So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And I watched Final Destination 2. Enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the first one. Second one's good. Nice gross gore. I saw the infamous log scene, like the log highway scene that I've known about forever, because it's just what I think about whenever I'm driving behind those trucks full of like the stacked logs. So this is another fun movie. I'm enjoying the silliness of the series so far. And then lastly, I got back to Bond for the first time in forever, and I watched Goldeneye. And Goldeneye is cool. Goldeneye is a really cool movie.
It's awesome.
Like, I was telling Drew, it has the right balance of like serious, kind of like, it's the cool serious tone of like, yeah, this is a real movie that I can like take seriously and be like, not feel goofy about enjoying or thinking that was cool. But it balances it with like the like, now James Bond is like Tokyo drifting in a tank in London. And it's like, it's just kind of, it lets itself also just be fun Bond as well. So it was that good balance of like, this is just a fun, cool little silly movie that I thought was really good. Martin Campbell directed it. The next Bond film he directed is Casino Royale, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
Because these movies are
Oh,
very different.
wow.
But as was evident in Golden Royale,
Golden Royale.
Golden Eye, he always had the sauce because this movie is sleek and it looks good. So
Yeah.
that was the last one I watched. I was happy to be able to report that I really liked Pierce Brosnan's first outing.
Heck yeah, dude.
I feel like I'm gonna like him a lot when I if I ever get to it.
I will say, like, I like the movie. Like, it's more. He doesn't quite have the same amount of like just talking scenes.
Uh-huh.
So I'm looking forward to him being able to just kind of be Bond in non-action scenes a little bit more as uh his outing continues. Because I don't feel like after the first one I can quite weigh him against the other actors yet. I'm like, I still need to get more of a, whereas like with George Lazenby with On Her Majesty's Secret Service, he never got the second chance, but I was like, I know what I feel about his Bond, like,
Right.
now. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to get to those again at some point. I'm just like in the part that's like the last couple I watched were really mid or bad, and I just am not motivated
oh,
at
you
all.
watched Live and Let Die last, right?
Yes. And I don't even think I finished it, honestly.
What?
I don't think I finished it.
Dude, if you logged it on Letterbox, it's heresy. It's
I don't think I did. I don't think I don't think I
did.
did. I didn't watch enough to to log it. But I will one day. I'll pick back up on it.
You should.
I pretty much just watched Mission Impossible Final Reckoning again. I watched it a repeat viewing, and happy to report for me, I liked it just as much, if not more so, than I did the first time. It has settled in, because I wasn't sure after the first time I saw it where it was settling in my rankings, but it has settled right in there. So right there. So I guess it would be Mission Impossible 3, Fallout, forgetting titles, Rogue Nation, then Mission Impossible 1, and then the back half is Dead Reckoning, Final Reckoning, Ghost Protocol 2. So that's kind of where it's settled in. And I feel good about that. And I really enjoyed it. The parts that aren't good still aren't good, but the parts that I love, I really, really love. And it's such a good time. And so I know I'm less frustrated by it than James, but I get it. I get it. And then I've honestly, y'all, I've just been playing Breath of the Wild a lot. Like,
Nice.
I really have. This is the first time, kind of. I've tried like 3 times, and I get like 2 hours tops into it, and then I just like get overwhelmed for a while and take a break, and then I forget, and then I have to feel like I need to start over again. So that happened 3 times, I think, and this time it just caught on, and I just kind of was like, okay, I get this game now, and I'm having a blast, and now I'm really deep into it now. Actually, I'm doing great, and I'm having a really good time. So right as the Switch 2 comes out, I'm finally getting into like the flagship game of the Switch 1.
There you go.
But having a great time with that. So that's what really, I haven't been watching as much because I've been doing that. Yeah, so
That's respectable. Breath
yeah.
of the Wild is awesome. So I haven't watched a whole lot of movies lately. I did watch 2 pieces of cinema this last week. So I watched Where the Crawdads Sing. And I thought it was pretty mid. I can't speak from the book. I don't know anything about the book. I know there's a book. It's based on a book. But I don't know, man. It's a weird movie because like sometimes it looks great and it feels really serious. And actually, like throughout the entire film, it looks great. But there's something like weird about the writing and the performances where sometimes it feels serious and then other times it almost feels hallmarky in a way, which is weird because
James just perked up a little bit.
it's weird because it has like some solid actors behind it, but there's just some sort of disconnect. And I think it just boils down to the direction and maybe the writing. I do know that from what I heard, the book isn't as much focused on the romance as the movie is. So like maybe that's part of the problem too. But yeah, I don't know. Weird movie. Gave it like 2.5 stars. It wasn't like egregiously bad, but it wasn't great either.
I've heard the book called like Airport or Beach Reading by some. So I don't. Maybe the movie's a reflection of that. I don't know. Maybe I was talking to somebody really pretentious. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't know because I haven't read it. But yeah. Moving on from that, here's where we get to real cinema. I rewatched Happy Gilmore, and I love that movie, man. Carl Weathers is fantastic in it, and his fake hand is so freaking funny.
Gosh, I haven't seen that movie in probably decades, like 2 decades probably.
It's so good, dude. And like every single time you see the golf ball flying through the sky like at Mach 10 speed, I laughed every time. It's never not funny. So yeah, that was my movie watching. Which
we gotta thank Paul Thomas Anderson for giving us cinephiles permission to like love 90s Adam Sandler comedies.
Yeah.
Every time he goes on an interview and talks about how much he loves 90s Adam Sandler comedies, we all get to be like, oh, we get to, guys. We get to.
Hey, I will always stand behind Mr. Deeds.
I've never seen that one.
I haven't either.
It's stupid, but I love it. Also, Click. Click was the first time I ever was like, oh, he's acting there.
Like, hey guys, check it out. He's acting.
He's acting. He can do it. I saw it right there. Yeah. I love Waterboy.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I think Adam Sandler once he got out of the 90s and early 2000s, I feel like it got worse. I know he did other really good movies, and I haven't seen those, so I'm sure those are great. But like his movies,
yeah, Adam Sandler and Friends,
they got real bad, real bad.
I saw Grown Ups 2, and like there are times where I genuinely consider that to be the worst, like excluding all like sci-fi original kind of, like direct to DVD, like big budget, like this movie was this was a real movie that played in theaters. In that category, sometimes I think it's the worst movie I've ever seen.
It's awful. It's really bad. And it's got like 4 guys in it that I think it's at least 4. But like the guys in it, I generally I like them all. It's just so bad.
Yeah. But yeah, that was my movie watching this last week. I need to change that. I was planning on watching Ballerina tonight. That didn't happen because the AMC.
Watch Final Reckoning.
I'm seeing it tomorrow.
Okay, nice.
Yep. Yep. So that's what I was about to say.
I cannot wait to hear your thoughts. I wonder which way you'll be leaning.
I'm so excited. I'm just gonna go in, no thoughts.
Good.
Just gonna
love it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm accepting that mission. I'm choosing to accept. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because I'm gonna watch that. Gonna try and see Ballerina sometime soon. I think Friendship already left my theater, which sucks. And then I also want to see Wes Anderson's new movie. So I'm gonna try and watch those.
Oh my gosh!
All right. All right. I'm
hitting
Adam end stream right now.
After I just talked about liking.
Seriously, man, I just don't get it.
Stories is a good movie.
I don't get it. Bedtime Stories is a great movie compared to Grown Ups.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Wes Anderson. I was about to say,
Yeah, I
man.
thought you. I
was
thought
about to
you
say
Listen.
Wes
I have
Anderson.
my thoughts on Wes Anderson. I won't do that. I'm not going to say that.
Gosh.
I promise.
Okay.
But yeah. So now down to some real cinema.
Let's
Guys,
freaking go.
this one again. I feel like I say this every single time we talk about a Star Wars movie, but this one's a long time coming because this movie came out 10 years ago now.
That's wrong.
At
That
least
can't
in
be right.
December it will be 10 years, but that's just insane to me. It doesn't feel like 2015 was 10 years ago at all. So I don't know, man. Like, it's crazy. I remember being at this point, when the Force Awakens came out, and I was like, oh dang, it's been 10 years since we watched
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. So it's just crazy that
Weird.
we're already at this point.
Weird,
Kind of hate it.
man.
Kind of hate it. But you know what I don't hate? I don't hate this movie. I freaking love this movie, guys. I said on our last stream, I think The Force Awakens is the movie that I've seen the most in theaters, and there's a reason for it. It's freaking awesome. I remember being super excited for this movie, but it took a little while to get there. I think whenever it was announced that Disney was taking over Star Wars, I was a little bit like pissed off because they canceled Clone Wars during the acquisition, and then they also canceled Star Wars 1313, which looked awesome. And so I was a little bummed out, and I was a little worried. I had those worries that everyone I think had of Disney taking over Star Wars. But once we got that first teaser trailer, I was like,
Wait, never mind.
this kind of rocks. And out of like my friend group, I was the only one who I was like, I don't know, there's something, they're cooking something with this teaser trailer. And then we get to the first official trailer,
Ugh.
and if I'm not mistaken, the only trailer that they released outside of like TV spots and stuff like that. And that's just an all-time great trailer, one of the greatest
All time. Absolutely.
And it's highly elevated by the incredible rendition of the Star Wars theme, or the Force theme. Yeah. Once we got that trailer, I was fully locked in, and I was like, "There's just no way this movie's gonna be bad." And I'm glad I got locked in because, man, I was not disappointed. That first viewing was an all-timer. Watched it in IMAX, and then I had to watch it like 5 more times. So yeah, this movie like holds a special place in my heart. And even though, yeah, there's a few things about it that you can criticize, but to me this is just one of my favorite movies ever, honestly. So I can't wait to chat about it. But Michael, let's get some initial thoughts from you.
Yeah, well, when it was announced that Disney, was taking over Star Wars, I actually didn't have any negative feelings about it because I hadn't been watching the Clone Wars. I had probably not even heard of it at that point because I wasn't watching Cartoon Network at all, and I honestly didn't even hear about the Clone Wars until like several years later. And so and even after I heard about it, I saw like images of it, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like that. I don't like I don't like how it looks.
Yeah.
Stupid me. But so I wasn't mad at them for that. And then I heard that it was announced that J.J. Abrams was gonna do the first one, and my only thought was, oh my gosh, well, okay, I love Mission Impossible 3. I love Lost. I'm obsessed with Lost. And I loved his Star Trek movie. So I feel like this is such a huge win. J.J. Abrams pretty much owned Hollywood when he was announced as the guy, right? So I thought this was great. I was only excited, and then just kind of they were working on the movie, and it laid dormant for a while. Sorry, Gabe. I can't. I can't even read
Well,
it.
for our listeners, Gabe said, "So thankful JJ came and saved Star Wars from Lucas and his awful prequels."
And then he killed it.
Oh, we're not talking about
Yeah, I know.
the film that will not be named tonight. We're talking about The Force Awakens. And but yeah, so I was excited. That first teaser came out, and I went from like, okay, I love Star Wars, I'm ready, this is gonna be great. But I have no idea what to expect, to oh my holy crap. Like I literally was like almost crying the first time I watched that teaser. And then you're right, that official trailer, ugh, it is an all-timer. So I was just super hyped going into the movie. I remember the first viewing, I basically didn't have any issues with it. Can tend to be my thing. Once I see it again, I might have, I might notice some things I missed or whatever. But like I was just on cloud nine. As the years have progressed, I've watched it more. I have some pretty significant issues with it. Really, just a few major ones. I love this movie though, and I have so much gushing to do about it, and I can't wait to talk about it. But I do have a few things, and it kind of affects not just this movie. It affects like the sequel trilogy as a whole, and so I do have some qualms. But again, JJ cooked with this movie. John Williams cooked with this movie, and I can't wait to get into particulars with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mentioned in our last one that like the teaser for this is kind of what genuinely like awakened the biggest love of Star Wars in me. Yeah, we made the joke last time too. And so I was just like, man, there's something special. Like, I also loved like that first teaser is one of my favorite pieces of promotional anything.
So
like
good.
just the desert shot and the bomb of just
Yeah.
like that building, that just the shot of Finn, the shot of BB-8 rolling, just all of these shots. And you're
Getting
like, I
the
have no,
X-wing shot, dude.
yeah,
Oh,
I've
man.
got no context for any of this, and then the cross guard reveal was just like,
Yeah, dude.
golly, dude, this is like, and then of course
Crazy that
ending
the
with,
cross guard was like so controversial.
I'm actually a
whenever-
crossguard on a lightsaber. Doesn't make any sense.
yeah, actually,
What a
you putting that
time.
much thought into it doesn't make any sense. So shut up.
I love that they actually used it in the movie too. Actually
Yeah,
used the
because
cross guard.
actually it can make sense. You
Yeah.
dip. So, but anyways, I really I was really excited going into it, and the first time like when I watched it in the theater, um, I definitely liked it, but I was kind of quickly on the whole, yeah, that was good, but that was basically A New Hope, right? Like that's kind of how I started to feel when I was like, there's a droid and a desert planet and the masked villain and the Death Star. Like this is basically A New Hope and blah blah blah. So I was like, yeah, it's good, but it's maybe a bit disappointing. And so yeah, that's kind of how I felt. And then it came out to buy, and I was like, well, I mean, it's Star Wars. I'll go ahead and get it just because I've got the others. So I bought it. I was in college. I was living at this point. I was just living by myself, and so I was like, I'm gonna rewatch Force Awakens, I guess. And I watched it, and it was my second viewing, my home viewing, that I fell in love with it. I don't
How
really know
funny.
why. I just remember sitting there, and it was like there was it was whenever Kylo starts chasing Rey through the forest, where I'm like, gosh, this movie looks so cool. Kylo's so cool, dude. Rey, like this, she's
Yeah.
a really good actress, actually. I think I love this movie. It's just like, it was, yeah, like there's some sort of weird transformation happened for me on that second viewing at home, and I'm like, wait, I just had fun every single second of this movie. Um, and that has been more accurate of my feelings for this movie since. It hasn't really changed. Once I loved it, I've just continued to love it. I've got issues. Uh, Honestly, to me, there's only two Star Wars movies that I don't have any issues with. So
Return of the Jedi.
absolutely not. Uh, but my problems with this and the whole of it are far outweighed by what I love about it, and I love so
Same.
much about this movie.
Yeah, no.
Gabe says, "Turn up your mic, Jimbo."
My mic is all the way up, so
Maybe you just need to be closer to it.
maybe you're about to hear something really loud.
Let's go.
Maybe that
The
wasn't
Force
loud.
awakened me to Mitchy Man.
Mitchy Man's in the chat.
He has awoken. Yeah. James, you made a good point that like the Force Awakens kind of awokened your your love for
Awokened.
Star Wars. Yeah. But like, I obviously love Star Wars before, but like I really think the Force Awakens was just on another level for me. I think when I watched it, it just kind of reinforced like why I love Star Wars. And getting that movie and then like having that be like, because the prequel trilogy was like what I grew up with. And I mean, like, I grew up with the original trilogy, but like the prequel trilogy came out when I was growing up. And so that was like a big part of like my childhood. But then getting the Force Awakens and like the sequel trilogy into like adulthood, like there's just something about both of those trilogies that have like such a like big hold on my life because they were big moments in my life, or they were around for big moments in my life. So um I think that's like just another reason why this movie's so special to me. And I think that with the teaser, with the first trailer, um we had gone such a long time, 10 years since the last Star Wars film. And so to like kind of come back in such a strong way like that, it felt so earned. Um that's part of the thing that we've talked about before with Star Wars, where like it's not like Marvel, it's not like a lot of these other like big franchises where you can pump out a movie every single year, or not just a movie every single year, but multiple every year.
Please don't.
Yeah. And it sucks that we haven't had a movie since The Rise of Skywalker, but it's going to feel so much more earned, hopefully, when we do get to see Star Wars on the big screen again. And I think like just that feeling of like, oh, it's been so long since I've been here before, that made that moment when the opening crawl hits, it just felt like I was transported into a different world. Um, and I really was like, the opening minutes of this movie are all time. Like seeing the Star Destroyer fly over the planet to like eclipse it, and then you get the ships flying out of it. And we talked about it last week. I think James, you mentioned it, but like seeing the like drop ships like shake
The shots of the clones,
the stormtroopers.
inside,
Stormtroopers,
yeah,
actually.
sorry. The shots of the stormtroopers in the vehicles when they're just kind of jostling around in the flickering lights.
Yeah,
those shots are
so sick.
cinema. I love those shots so much. We should just talk about like just that intro and everything the opening accomplishes, because it's incredible.
Yeah. I think it sets the stage perfectly. Um, and it it has JJ's like signature like opening. He always has like just these super electric, fast paced openings that just jump you in right off the bat. Um, and he does that excellently in every film that he's directed. Um, and so getting that here with Star Wars was perfect. Especially when you have so many Star Wars openings that have been incredible, like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. You know, you can name like pretty much all of the Star Wars movies, and they have like just these amazing openers. But to have one that like competes with all of those and just like getting you locked in, um, I think was great. And like, there's just such like a sense of urgency at the start of this film because you're, you know, just like barely getting to know some of the characters, and the stormtroopers are coming in and they have to get the droid off of the planet. There's so much like happening at once. um but it doesn't feel like overwhelming to me because I feel like a lot of other movies would probably just like overload you with exposition, but like here they throw you into it, and I think it works really well for this film. um
Star
we'll
Wars
we'll
has the. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Star Wars has the benefit when it comes to exposition of just it gets to throw literally a wall of text at you at the very beginning, and in
Freaking
other
genius.
other it is because other movies could try that. Final Reckoning. Um, and it's like, this is terrible. This is bad. And then Star Wars is like, this is what just happened. This is what's happening right now. This is what's about to happen. We're like, yes, it's Star Wars.
I would love to see a cut of The Force Awakens where it's throwing around the dialogue or the exposition from the opening crawl, but through from different characters in the movie.
See, that wasn't even my main problem with Final Reckoning. Mine was.
We're talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, okay, sorry. But anyways, it gets to set the stage of,
Yeah.
Luke is missing, BB has BB's been given part of the map. They got it from Lorson Tech. This is what's going on. There's a first order, yada yada yada. Here's all of this, and then it just goes straight, like, because all the plot stuff happens, it just launches into like three of the most fantastic character introductions of all time, between Kylo, Finn, and then after this scene, Rey.
Yeah, and I even love Poe's introduction.
Oh yeah, and Poe's.
I love that he's introduced like in the mix with Kylo at the same time. And Poe could have just been a Han Solo clone. But I really like how they kind of differentiate his character in the opening minutes of this movie. Because he has like the same kind of like charm because it's Oscar Isaac. And he has like that kind of charisma, but he has a very, very different approach than like Harrison Ford with Han.
Yeah.
And also like him being a resistance leader compared to Han being a smuggler who becomes a leader. I like that contrast. That's one thing, that's one area where like I really feel like, even though there are some similarities to New Hope, there are a lot of differences, and it especially comes with the characters. Because you get
almost inversions, like,
yes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, you get an inversion of Han with Poe. You get an inversion of Vader with Kylo, and so on and so on. So I don't know, man. And yeah, these character introductions are just great because with just like a very short amount of time with each character at the start, you already get to know exactly who those characters are.
Even Rey with Luke, like an inversion there, because Luke would have killed to have gotten off the planet like as soon as he could. And
Yeah.
Rey has a desire to do something with her life, but she also does not want to leave. Like she's waiting, right? She's total opposite mindset. And so like
Yeah.
I just love there's this like literally an inversion of a lot of our characters to make it to where this is not, and there just I'm with I do tend to go along the lines of there's a lot of similarities with A New Hope, and some of them I don't mind at all, but some of them like guys, what are we doing here? But we'll get to them later. But I do love the effort with, yes, plot wise, there's some things there, but our characters where it really, really matters the most, there's a lot of differences, and they're really good differences.
Yeah, that's that. Like watching the movie again, and like characters to me sometimes don't truly start to come alive until I've seen the same movie a few times, and I can kind of be knowing the end from the beginning, be like,
Mm-hmm.
this might be why this character's feeling this way, blah blah blah. And then I was just, I mean, I'm sure this will be a topic that we'll probably end up having to talk about a lot in this review. Uh, with like the similarities, but just thinking about like some of the similarities I feel like exist to accentuate the differences. Like that happens a lot of the time in films where it's like you'll intentionally invoke something else. Like you'll draw attention to being similar to a different thing so that whenever you're different from that thing in other ways, it's like, oh, I never would have really noticed that had I not expected this other thing, you know? Like I was expecting this to
Mm-hmm.
happen because everything else was telling me this is what happens. And I think like the Ray thing is one of the things that comes most to mind is like we got the droid, we got the, you know, the older person who's come from the previous trilogies, you know, like adventures kind of as this mentor figure. And then you get the call to action, which is like a part of, you know, the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And Luke denies his for a little bit. He's like, no, I need to help with Uncle Owen, blah, blah, blah. And then whenever, you know, they get killed, he's like, there's nothing keeping me here anymore. I want to train to be a Jedi. And that's like end of Act 1, you know? So we go into the second 2/3 of the movie with Luke like, let's do this. I've been wanting to get off, you know, get off of this planet for the longest time. This is like, you know, if there's a bright center of the universe you're on the planet farthest from, you know, I need to leave this place. And Rey gets that like call to action later than Luke does at Maz's castle. And what does she do? She runs off into the woods crying. Like she's like, no, 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 I can't. So whenever she's called like a Mary Sue, I'm like, you people only think in terms of like ability. And first off, this is Star Wars. Pod racing should be literally impossible for
Mm-hmm.
humans. Literally impossible for humans. And Anakin does it at 8. You had these experienced fighter pilots saying this is a 1 in a million shot. And Luke's like, no, I can do that. And does it, not only does it, but does it without the technology that would have still made it nearly impossible. Like even with tech guiding, it still is considered almost impossible. And he just eyeballing it makes it like a 1 in a million shot. And don't give me the whole like, oh, he trained on the X or on the Falcon with Obi-Wan.
He
Dude,
trained for like 5 seconds.
He
He
had
got
a
zapped by that thing. And
he had a session.
yeah, those people are so silly. So like more interesting than like power ability to me is like character stuff of like what makes this person tick, what are their internal flaws. And Luke is being a hero right at the beginning, right at the outset. He's off adventuring. He gets his medal at the end. Rey's crying in the woods. She's captured. The third act is like trying to get to Starkiller Base to rescue her. Like she's a very deeply flawed character. She's more like she has more to go wrong for her than most of our protagonists in the series. So that is always been such a stupid criticism.
Yeah, and like I think, oh man, I'm about to pop off, boys.
Let's go. Hey, we were all positive last week. We're getting spicy tonight.
Well, hey, I'm being positive, but I'm also crapping on the haters.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're
Yeah.
getting that's what I mean. We love this movie.
Yeah. Man, I was, there defending Rey day one with The Force Awakens, uh, saying no, she's not a Mary Sue. And there's so many reasons why. And James brought up a lot of good points, but like they establish in the first few minutes when you see her that she's very capable. She's
Yeah.
been surviving on a barren desert planet, scavenging, barely getting enough food every day, just surviving on her own.
Mm-hmm.
She's got her staff that she's clearly having to fight people off with since
Yes.
she was like young. Like, yeah.
She's been in this since she was 7 years old. She's been in this fight since she was 7 years old. But yeah, like,
But there's no way a girl like that could be a great pilot. What?
On a
well, hey,
freaking
I'm about to wreck you right
scrapyard
there.
planet full of ships all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah, no way.
Where she had
So unrealistic.
access to the training that they have for X-Wing pilots. I mean, they establish all of this stuff like right there in the opening minutes of the movie. But it doesn't mean that she's overpowered or anything like that. She has to rely on like all the other characters for a lot of stuff. And when she is like fighting people, she's not like trained to use a lightsaber. She's not trained to like be this expert in combat or anything at all. Like she's literally just been fighting to survive, and because that's all she's known. So it's like I don't really understand it. Like even when and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when we get to the final duel with her and Kylo, she's in over her head. Like the only and you can see by the way she's using the lightsaber, like she doesn't know what she's doing. She's just surviving, and the only reason why she wins that fight is because Kylo was hit by a bowcaster, which
and they establish
everyone dies when they get hit by that thing.
This is and this is like not even a thing where you're like where you have to really read into the movie to see it. Like it is abundantly clear too. Oh, he got hit by that thing. And he's really hurt by it. Like they show it multiple times in different ways.
the way
So
he's
this
like pounding on himself.
yeah,
the
he's
blood
like
just,
and blood all over the snow. Come on. And yet he should have he's a highly experienced. He should have
he just experienced the emotional duress of murdering his father.
Mhm.
And he's acting under orders not to kill. When you combine those three things,
Yep.
it might and the Force has it like it's like we turn our brains off whenever we want to criticize this movie. We've known for forever that the Force has its own will, you dingbats. Like if the Force wants somebody to win, the Force can do that. So it's like
that's why Luke blew up the Death Star.
You guys, the Force is the ultimate plot device. Like it is the best one ever because like the Force willed it.
Like, and for these silly people who need things spelled out for them, Last Jedi gave that line where he's like, I warned Kylo that the stronger he became, the Force would rise up his equal in the light. There you go. Like there's your fourth reason. If you need a reason of why she might have won that fight.
Thanks, Ryan Johnson. You're the best.
Gosh, people are dumb.
Okay, yeah. I mean, like seriously, it really is. What sucks is like the conversations around these movies has had to include defending criticism about her being a Mary Sue. It really is unfortunate that these conversations even have to happen because literally like Luke was doing the same stuff a lot of the time and Anakin was doing the same stuff and nobody cared. It really is like super frustrating.
I don't like it when like sometimes when this argument's made, it's like, well, no. And now if I argue with that, I'm going to sound bad. But I think people were already prepared to make this whenever it was Disney.
Yeah.
If she was a dude, nobody would have said it.
No.
Like there's 0% chance.
It's a girl, so it's woke. you know,
yeah, like I'm
Yep.
sorry, I don't need the ability to peek into an alternate reality. I know that alternate reality, and I'm here to tell you that in that alternate reality, if Ray was a dude, nobody's making these complaints.
no, absolutely nobody.
Yeah.
And like she is, like you said, James or Drew, I can't remember which one of you. She's in over her head in that fight. Like, and even people complain even about Finn having an upper hand in the fight. Whatever. I watched it today. Finn gets one hit on him, and it's like as soon as that hit happens, oh, dude,
Dude is
Kylo
laid
gives
out.
it to him, man. like, like inches away from death. Yeah. So like
Puts the
the
guy in a coma.
literally puts the guy in a coma. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole thing is ridiculous.
It's manufactured.
I do want to like, well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of rants during this night. I do want to just get back. I want to talk about too, just like talking about character introductions and
Oh, yeah.
the we have the scene with Lor Santeca and Poe where they're talking back and forth, and then that leads directly. So like we have our Poe intro, we have it leads directly into the Finn intro when it zooms in on Finn and the guy, the stormtrooper that he's with puts his hand on his helmet and blood is on, so it marks Finn so you can follow him. It's such a great touch and it looks freaking sick.
Yes.
It looks so cool.
Yeah.
But like I just love the idea of a stormtrooper who has been like brainwashed from basically birth when he actually gets to his first battle is like, I can't do this. Like this is wrong. I love, what a great concept. And then right during that we get Kylo's intro and it's so like, but I just think it's such a, not only like from a character standpoint, I love what it does right off the bat for Poe, right off the bat for Finn, right off the bat for Kylo. Kylo right out of the gate is like so scary and powerful, but it's also just how seamless are those transitions, are those intros to these characters all happening within like a 10-minute span of each other in the same scene so flawlessly. Like, oh
Yeah, and it's the definition of visual storytelling. Where what all does Finn say in that scene?
literally nothing.
Exactly.
Never
It's
says a
no
thing.
dialogue, and yet you know it all. He's
You can't
there
even see his
as
face. You can't even see his face.
he's there as a stormtrooper. You know he's supposed to kill him. The blood marks. He can't bring himself to do it. He looks scared whenever like Kylo freezes the blaster bolt, which is one of the coolest things ever put to
Yes.
film. And then whenever he unfreezes it, it blasts. Finn jolts like he's terrified. He's scared. He can't bring himself to do it. No dialogue at all.
Mhm.
And then we jump cut to Ray's intro, and once again,
No
what
dialogue.
what does Ray say? She's by herself. Like it's just it's her day. You see her marking the days. You see where she lives. You see how she's able to make a living. The slide down the little sand dune, which is awesome.
It goes a while, by the way, without
Yeah.
any dialogue with her. And
Yeah.
those shots, man, movies have never looked
Your
better. Dude.
background, Drew, is
Yes.
the
Yeah,
shot of the
yeah.
down Star Destroyer is
Yep.
like one of the most incredible images in Star Wars.
Yep. And then I also love the shot of her on the speeder when the sunset is in the background.
Mm.
Yeah.
So good, man.
Yeah,
So,
and
like-
the shot of her like cleaning the equipment that she just got off the ship, and then right across from her another like an older woman doing the same thing, and she's like looking at her like,
Oh, yes.
is that me? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Nobody has to tell you that that's what that meant.
Yeah.
It's just like we all saw it and we all knew what she was thinking when she looks over there. It's like this is how you tell a story in a visual
Yeah.
medium.
Yeah.
Also, one thing that I just thought of right now. All three of our lead characters are masked when they're first introduced.
Holy crap!
Huh.
I never
Yeah.
thought about that
Yeah,
before.
That's true though.
That's just like an
That's a great
interesting
point.
connection that I just made. But yeah, like yeah, because even when we first see Ray, she's
Yeah, she's
wearing
got
like the scarf and the goggles, and you can't even see her face, and like
Take
which
that ridiculous thing off.
but yeah,
We'll
man.
get there.
Real quick, I wanted to shout out that force ability that Kylo whips out, freezing the
He whips out.
yeah, he whips out that force
Whatcha?
ability. um Whenever he freezes the blaster bolt, and this isn't just true for this goes for all of the force abilities in this movie, it goes for all the lightsabers, it goes for all the blasters. I have never felt so much weight behind the force,
Mm,
the lightsabers, and the blasters than in any of the movies beforehand. This one like just gets it down so perfectly. Um
sound design.
the sound,
So
and yeah,
good.
the sound design is such a big part of that, because it really has just these punchy, like bassy, like sound to
Mm.
it. But then also like the way that there's just a lot of like interesting camera techniques that JJ and cinematographer use, um, to like just really sell that like the force is actually powerful. It doesn't feel like people are just like, floating everywhere. Like there's some real weight to it. There's some real consequence when you use the force. So I really like that JJ kind of took the force and lightsabers in a different direction with this one, because to me it just makes it so much more impactful, because we don't get the force often in this movie, but when we do, it really matters.
Yeah.
I think I said it last week. I really like that I love the prequels fights all day, all day, every day. I love them. Duel of the Fates is one of the greatest sequences ever. Anakin
Battle
versus
heroes I
Obi-Wan.
love so much.
I mean, Qui-Gon and Maul, like the quick, like the
Yeah.
really quick one on Tatooine stands out to me too. Like, there's so many great sequences in the prequels. I love that they were that way, and I also love that this trilogy feels different. I love that the direction was. It almost feels like the lightsabers are heavy, like a broadsword kind of thing, and
Yeah.
it like,
Finn's fight with the traitor.
oh, traitor! Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, when those things clash, you're like,
Yeah, dude.
holy, dude,
It's
is there a
so sick. And
shockwave or something?
by the way, like stormtroopers should all be trained in those. That's quite
Yeah.
formidable. It's
Such a cool fight, too.
such a cool fight. I love that.
Yeah.
And then but yeah, it all feels so heavy. Like it feels like it takes real effort to wave one of these around, rather than it feeling like it. I just said I love it, but in the prequels, it feels like they weigh nothing, and it feels like the people weigh nothing. They're just flipping around everywhere and stuff. But in this, it feels like it's a real like a gladiator fight. You know what I mean? Like it feels really, it feels like it just like the littlest thing could mean more. Like it, and I don't know. I like the sound design too, the look of it and the sound design. It really makes you feel it more. And so I think it's a cool stylistic choice
Yeah.
that I was watching. I know we've dogged on them before, but I watched Corridor Crew a while back, and they were watching a video about, I think it was probably something about The Last Jedi, the throne room scene there. And the people watching with them were like, we used to get the prequels or whatever. We used to get, and I've always just been like, guys, they can be different styles. Like this is not good versus bad. This is this versus that. It shouldn't be any verses anyway, but I don't know. I just it drives me crazy when people like hate on this because there's not enough flips and whatever.
Yeah, and like I know that the original trilogy definitely has differences, but the way the lightsabers are in the Force Awakens and to the sequel trilogy as a whole reminds me a lot more of like Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially towards the end of the film when Luke is just wailing on Vader. Like there's just I don't know, there's just a very visceral feel to the lightsabers in this.
Yeah, 100%.
And also Kylo has the best sounding lightsaber
Oh
ever.
my gosh, it just sounds so sick.
Like I said, I spent $200 on a replica of that one, and I don't regret it.
Like I said,
Yeah.
worth every penny.
That 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 teaser shot, that's in it, like when he puts his right foot down and ignites it, like all time moment to me.
Yeah,
Just all time. It's so cool.
it's amazing.
Also, slight subject change, but quick shout out to during Ray's intro, the shot from inside the Star Destroyer, like the wide shot
When
where you
she's
see her
rappelling
just
down.
yeah, it's like, gosh, these things are huge, and you just don't
Yeah.
like think about them being that big. But of course, if it was like a abandoned, crashed, you know, it'd be way more open spaced. It just she's like, she's literally sliding down a rope because it's like this way. And the fact that you have to even do that, I'm like thinking about how high she had to climb on that rope to begin with
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
It, like, I don't know, it just seems so huge.
the scale is unmatched in this, and like, and it's so interesting. And this is actually one thing I wanted to bring up. So I guess this will be a good segue. The scale in this is massive when it needs to be, but there's a lot of like shots in this film that are more like medium shots or close-ups, and like, um you know this is a big movie. There's a lot of things happening in it, but one thing that I kind of like about this, it reminds me a lot of A New Hope in this way, is that it doesn't feel as grand as some of the other Star Wars films. Like in Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, like there's like a billion people on the screen fighting, and you know, it's not that we don't get big moments like that in this movie, but one thing that like A New Hope does, that I really love, is like kind of like just keeping it a little bit more focused on our main group of characters. And like even when you're in the Death Star, yeah, the scale is huge, but like it still just feels like focused and contained. And the Force Awakens like does that. Like a lot of the action sequences, it's not a ton of people fighting all at once. You're like focused in on your core group of characters, um, but it still feels massive.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I thought that it was a really interesting way to kind of establish this trilogy, taking it to a little bit of a smaller scale in that sense. Um, when we had Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith before this, and even with the Clone Wars, like just getting these massive battles. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting like approach to kind of scale it back a bit. But I really like it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for this movie as a reaction to the prequels. I love the prequels. I love this movie. So I don't love the idea of having to like imagine them in tension or as a negative reaction to like one to the other. But like I mean people even interpret the whole like this will begin to make things right opening line in a certain light. Uh but like I mean this is definitely there's a lot about it feels like the whole like look this is more like the original trilogy, right? um but I mean because we love the original trilogy, that brings with it its positives,
Right.
like what you're saying, like this emphasis on like especially with the A New Hope comparisons, like this emphasis on like here's our handful of characters and we're not in the middle of like a war. Like we're kind of in the middle of like smaller things, like a spattering of important things happening, and we're seeing it all through like these very particular sets of eyes. Um, we're seeing everything through Ray, Finn, Han. Like they are our eyes into this story, and they spend a lot of the movie together, which means our eyes are often just wherever this group is. Um, So I think that creates like a movie that has like a more intimate feel for the characters. Like I feel like you just I mean, if I know these people more than you really know a lot of people in a debut movie. Um, I think that's to JJ's credit, like the
Yeah.
amount of scenes we get. We said this in our celebration episode, like just the Poe and Finn's escape together, like is just so jam packed, full of like fun character beats and moments. Finn and
Yeah.
Rey's escape on Jakku, which is such an awesome scene,
Yeah.
is great. And then when Han shows up, like Han is just bantering back and forth off of everybody, and BB-8's there, and like it's just everybody is playing, which I love the lighter thumbs up.
It's so good.
Gosh, I love BB-8 so
I do
much.
too.
Yeah.
But like it's just this crackling dialogue just bouncing off back and
Mhm.
forth between these people, and we're always in a location with these people, and so you just know these characters so well by the end of it.
It's like, I love these are great thoughts from both of you, because I have always lamented a little bit that, part of this film's story and the making of it is that it came out. It was the first thing to come out after prequel things, including the Clone Wars. But uh, there was so much backlash from the prequels that mandates were there. Hey, make this more like the originals than the prequels. They were there, 100%. They were. And J.J. Abrams, if you listen to any interview ever, it's very evident he likes the originals. He doesn't want a lot of politics in his Star Wars, whatever. Like, it's very clear that he's an OT guy through and through, which is fine. But it's pretty evident in this movie that there was an effort to distance it as a little bit from the prequels, bring back some old fans, bring back, introduce a new group of characters to younger fans. Let's bring everybody together again. And I think they did a great job at that. I do think that it suffers from it a little bit with some of my criticisms of the movie. I love that The Last Jedi introduces some prequel themes again. Really delves into the Jedi during the prequel era and all that stuff. Wasn't afraid of that at all. And I love that Disney let them do it. That's, they did. And credit to where credit's due. But in this movie, that was 100% part of the mandate. And it does. There are parts of the movie that I feel like are missing because probably strictly because of that. Guarantee you there was a mandate of, let's not make this overly political, but we need politics in this movie. Like, I really feel like we need more of the Republic and stuff
Should
like
we
that.
get into like the issues?
I would love
Yep.
to. Let's do
I
it.
think that's a good segue.
Yeah. I've always just felt like this is probably my biggest issue with this movie is the lack of the New Republic in this movie. And because of this movie, lack of New Republic in the rest of the movies, because it destroys it, the entire New Republic right out of the gate, like Act 2. So I've always been really frustrated that they did not build up the New Republic at all. And so it's always been a little bit like, okay, so feels like, okay, this is the new empire. How did it get there? This is the new rebellion. Why is it a rebellion? Like, or why is it a resistance? What's it resisting? What are we doing here? Like, it just feels like this is the new version and we're just supposed to buy into it. I can to a point, but it becomes, especially later, it just feels like, gosh, I just need, especially we've now seen like the intricacies of the politics in the prequels and the rise to power of Palpatine, like the effort that took, and the meticulous planning that the Death Star took, and like all that in Andor. We've gotten more of that now, and then Rogue One, and then this is just, it's here. And it's here because it's here. It's really frustrating. And so to me, I think hands down, like if if this was different in the movie, I think my other qualms would be qualms still, but they would almost be like, okay, but these are like nitpicks. Because of this, every little thing that is an issue stands out more, and it does affect the whole trilogy because, like, even there's later stuff, like there's Mandoverse stuff that is trying to fill in gaps of the New Republic and showing its downfall already 5 years after. Like, they're really having to like cobble together ideas of why the New Republic would have fallen. And I think they're having to carry the weight and explain things that really should have been done in this movie. But again, I also understand, this was the first Star Wars movie after the prequel, so I understand that too. So, but yeah, that's my first issue. I have a couple others, but yeah.
Yeah, and like I honestly like probably would be less critical about them not really building anything up with the New Republic if they would have kind of delved into it a little bit more in the like other two sequel films. Because I think like even if the New Republic's gone, you can always like kind of find ways to fill in those gaps in the later films. Um, and so I feel like I don't know, I would be like less critical about it, but I think this is just like a JJ problem in general because he loves just throwing us into every movie that he makes. And even with Lost, he throws us into that and we learn things as we're going along in that show. And it has the benefit of being, a multi-season show. Um so I think that's just like unfortunately mostly typical JJ issue. But it's one of those things where it does bother me, but in the grand scheme of things with The Force Awakens and then getting The Last Jedi, like it doesn't bother me as much because like we're so focused in on our characters um that like yeah, like I want the sequel era to get fleshed out for sure. But I think like just in the moment with the movies, like I don't care about it as much. Or I'm not thinking about it as much as I would elsewhere.
Well, because these in the Force Awakens and the Last Jedi, the character work is so strong that you love the characters,
Yeah.
and those are the strengths of the movies. The problem is it's Star Wars, so you do have to back out from time to time and be like, hey, why are we doing this? I don't know. It's just because. And that's a problem, especially in this movie. I did feel like The Last Jedi still, even though it didn't dive into the New Republic specifically a ton, it did kind of go into, it did some world building with like Canto Bight and
Yeah.
what the lack of the New Republic was doing for slavery and like all that's like there's some world building it was doing, but it wasn't on a grand scale. Like I really think a Star Wars trilogy needs. And you don't have to do a ton. Like A New Hope did it perfectly. You just have Imperials sitting around a table talking about the Senate being dissolved. That's all we needed, right? Like for the most part. And then there's little bits here and there. It's not like I don't need like huge character arcs for the entire New Republic, everybody that's there. I just need something. And we got nothing, and then they destroyed all of them. And I felt hardly anything because of that.
Yeah, when people say, well, what about A New Hope? Like that didn't, that didn't have a whole lot of the same kind of world building, and it's like, well, one, like you said, we do get those little like brief moments, like the Imperial discussions, but also A New Hope was literally born in a vacuum. It was the first. We don't have anything that came before it that it might be contradicting. We're not walking into A New Hope going like, but what about Palpatine? Like,
right.
We don't know these people. It is our introduction to everything. Going into The Force Awakens, like the last thing we saw was the Battle of Endor and victory celebration. So we have every right to be like, wait, what's the Republic? what's the Resistance? What's the first one? What is none of this was here before. So like I think it has it 100% has an obligation to introduce the state of things. Um and again, it's not even like I'm saying introduce an entirely brand new like 30-minute subplot. I honestly think you could probably do in 5 to 10 minutes everything that I'd need from this movie to cover all of these problems for me. Just like one scene of like a Senate hearing where Leia is like kind of shown honor in terms of like her position, like, oh no, Leia, you've done so much for us, blah blah blah. But surely you don't think, you know, like just a scene like that of her concerns being dismissed, like just what that one scene alone might do, you know, would be absolutely enormous to me. And then like some sort of scene where Hux might have another Imperial type person, not just Kylo, but just another Imperial type person to bounce something off of. You know, it doesn't have to be as like on the nose as like, well, when the First Order accumulated the blah blah blah. Like, I don't know. It's Star Wars. Maybe it could even be that, but like,
some of it could have.
Yeah, something just to like, because we really don't even know what the First Order is by the end of this dang movie. So I don't, and like, yeah, Star Wars is a big enough thing that like in terms of just the politics of everything, that to me it's like, yeah, sure you didn't like the prequels, whatever, JJ. I also think Disney just had a misread on the fandom at that point in time. They thought everybody was still in prequel hate mode. It's like, we're kind of getting over that, actually.
Clone Wars helped, and
yeah,
people grew up.
Yeah, exactly. Like they failed to think like all those 7, 8, 10-year-olds who are like loving this, they're on the internet now. They're paying for their movie tickets now.
Yep.
So like, but anyways,
yep.
Yeah, I definitely think you don't get to like say, well, I don't wanna when you're starting a trilogy. Like, no, you kind of got to. So
yeah, and now this is JJ could never have known this, but now we have post Andor Monday morning quarterbacking going on, and like I can't help but think like I've read Bloodline, and Mon Mothma is Chancellor of the New Republic at that point.
Not that I know.
Right. But she is. And how cool would it be to get her in every trilogy?
Yeah.
Like thinking back now, we could have gotten like just a quick flashback with her as the Chancellor and Leia doing something there. And then she'd be in every trilogy. I think that'd be so cool.
Yeah. But alas.
Yeah, but that obviously, like I said, JJ could never have known Andor was in Mon Mothma was going to be Mon Mothma of one of the greatest Star Wars characters ever. Like what? But that I just think that could have been really cool. But even without Mon Mothma, I do think, yeah, James, you're right. Like because we don't. A New Hope didn't have anything to stand on. It was building from the ground up. It does not have the responsibility that the prequels had. This is a sequel trilogy after both of those trilogies. It 100%, and we ended on a high note. And now you're just telling me, oh, the First Order and the Resistance. What are we resisting? Why?
The fact that is so like basically never truly explained fully within the films, and you need external material to really tell you about the Resistance. Like
it's so frustrating. And yeah, like I said, like it is Star Wars. So even though credit to these films, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, to me, they have great character work in them. You do have to back out at some point because it's a huge thing. And at some point we have to know why people are doing what they're doing. And I just don't know. Once to me, I don't put any blame on Rian Johnson about the New Republic not like going into that because it was gone. So now you just have to do with what you can with what's there. And so it to me is definitely on JJ, like 100% on JJ. And JJ started this thing. He could have put some stuff in the final movie if he wanted to. Nope, we just got the final order, which
Yeah.
I will say,
what about the middle order?
There was one thing that he did introduce in, or like I guess he expanded upon a little bit in The Rise of Skywalker that I did appreciate, with like kind of explaining how the First Order like kidnapped all these children and like started indoctrinating them. I like that we got, at least like that bit of like world building. But yeah, I think like just as
the
a
bare
whole,
minimum that should have been in the first one.
yeah, as a whole, like the entire trilogy, I think just doesn't do enough world building. The Last Jedi does the most.
Yeah,
but it doesn't do enough.
and I think it's like that thing about the prequels is like, what do we say now? Yeah, the dialogue is really bad in those movies, but like the overall overarching story and the world building is just amazing. Like, and because of that, they live on really well. I feel like they age pretty well because big picture wise, they were saying a lot really well. I think, when you when you have to listen to them say stuff is pretty rough sometimes, but it's
every now and then you get a great line.
You do, yeah. I'm not saying, yeah, absolutely they do. Like like I'm just gonna make a joke. But with these movies, I am afraid, like I what I would love to see is the sequel trilogy get the same treatment later that the prequels did, and it could. But I'm afraid that because of the lack of world building and the overall, there was not a cohesion to the trilogy like the first two trilogies had. I don't see it happening quite the same way. Maybe individual movies, like I can see The Last Jedi being something where like people think of it as its own thing one day, like really loving that one. But I don't know. I don't know. It kind of, it makes me sad thinking about these ones getting, just not aging as well because of the lack of clarity on things that are essential,
Yeah.
But
there are, like, if we want to just maintain on issues real quick before we pivot back to some more praises, because I think we all probably have a lot more praises.
So many more.
But while still on this though, like I think you see that like the same kind of instinct behind that problem. I think it shows up a little bit elsewhere. Like I'm okay with Han and Leia not being married and still together. In theory, but sometimes it feels as if it's done because he wanted to get things back to like, oh, will they, won't they? Kind of state of thing where it's like, and you see this a lot with movies where it's like when characters have kind of like been in a will they, won't they for so long, and then they get together and you think that's the conclusion, and then you realize, wait, we've got more stories to tell with them. It's like writers panic and they're like, I've never thought about writing like post them getting together material, like I've only ever thought of them in terms of like it's Han and Leia and they kind of like each other, but will they say it? Do they, like all that kind of stuff? And so we separate them again, and it's like, well, that's, I don't know. I think it works in this movie. The worst, like the biggest problem it brings to me is I think their reintroduction scene is kind of bad.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
It is it's the exposition that is rightly derided, where like I went back and I did the only thing that I knew how to do, and you did this, and because this happened to our son. It's like everybody in this scene knows that, by the way.
Like, right. Like, why are you saying this to her? She knows.
Yeah. Like, it's just, we didn't need to hear all of this. And it's very much because, well, I know this and you know this, but that audience doesn't know this. So let's say it out loud. And that's like, I think I said before, like that kind of exposition becomes like fourth wall breaking, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in the audience. I don't know that. You need me to know that. So you're talking to me. Like it's like it's bridging. It's like it's calling to attention. Like the fact that I'm sitting in a chair and you're on the screen and you need me to know this. And now I'm thinking about the fact that I'm sitting in the chair watching a movie again and
Right.
immersion is lost. And it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've always thought that first scene with them was like, even though like you get past like you get the first visual, you see Leia for the first time, and I get emotional, especially since since Carrie's no longer with us. I do get emotional every time I see her, but when they start talking, it's like, oh, yikes, really, really bad. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I don't. I did want to say, like, I know we're talking about criticisms later on. I felt like they had a couple of good little, like, I don't know about flirty, but their banter back and forth felt a little bit more classic when they're like kind of on task
Yeah.
and less in like reuniting mode. I think that's when they're best. And I know also Carrie Fisher was like not acting much at this time again too. I don't think she was the strongest. I thought she was great in Last Jedi. I actually thought she was really, really strong in that. I think she was knocking off some rust in this one a little bit.
Yeah.
And I felt that pretty strong. But also Ryan's dialogue is better than JJ's. It just is. Well, actually, I guess it's Lawrence Kasdan. Sorry. But yeah,
At times it is.
yeah. I just think yeah, in general, the Han and Leia stuff in this one can be kind of rough, but there's also times it's like, there they are. I see them.
Yeah. And I think it's positive that like separating them does make the weight of Han's death hit even a little harder. Like just the regret he dies with kind of hits emotionally.
Yeah. Ugh. Drew, do you have any thoughts on that before I bring in my next thing? Okay,
I'm trying to recover because I just had a random coughing fit, so I'm like,
you all right, bro?
yeah.
My biggest thing now left over, and I think this is it. I might have something later when we get to talk about other stuff. I will always have a few things that are like, oh my gosh, this is a trench run. This is a New Hope, or like, oh my gosh, this is the Death Star.
Yeah.
This is Star Killer. It's hilarious. It's so stupid.
Funny.
And again, after you see the intricacies that building the Death Star took and how hard it was and how scary it is.
Hey, to be fair, this
is just
was first committed by Return of the Jedi.
What?
I said this sin was first committed by Return of the Jedi within the same trilogy. I think it's far
very fair.
It's worse than Return of the Jedi, but I agree with the idea of the criticism.
Very fair. Very fair. Yeah. But at least in Return of the Jedi, it wasn't fully there. It was like operational, but it's not finished. It's a rush job.
Fully operational.
Right. But it's a rush job. It's like still half of the Death Star.
I'm afraid you'll find that is still fully operational.
Well done.
I will say,
even
though like, some of the Star Killer based stuff, at least in the context of this movie, is silly, they've been doing a good job of building up like how it actually took a very long time for it to get to where it's at in like
in
stuff.
External stuff that you shouldn't have to watch.
But you just appeal to Andor doing that for A New Hope as a reason. So I think that's okay. Like
fair.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason we can say after all the work it took to build the Death Star, like the only reason we say that is because of Rebels and because of Andor and because of all these things.
Very true. So, very true. I do, Stone said in the chat, I would argue the sequel trilogy has as much potential for elaboration as the prequels did. I kind of agree, like potential, because there's so much that wasn't told to us. Yeah. But it just feels like we got so much in the movies of the prequels as far as like world building and stuff. It just feels like this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right. Because of external stuff, shows and stuff, I have more perspective on the Death Star now than I ever did. And maybe there's something that could happen later in the sequel trilogy. That would be great. Honest to God, that I would love that. They just seem to be avoiding it like,
Well,
a plague.
to me, having Starkiller be Ilum from the Clone Wars was huge to me.
Yeah.
And seeing that they were already digging that, like hollowing out that trench and mining the Kyber 5 years post Return of the Jedi, or sorry,
Sure.
post Revenge of the Sith. Like, to me, that's the okay. Starkiller was in development, like before, like years before the original trilogy. So I
Yeah,
think
that's true.
I think that helps it. And then the rule of cool applies because Starkiller Base looks awesome.
Oh, it looks awesome, and the forest sequence. We're gonna talk about that because that's a set.
Yeah.
The forest with the snow.
And
That's
Hux's
a set.
little Nazi speech looks so cinematic.
It does.
Like
It does. He's about to. His eyes are about to pop out of his head. But okay, so I meant to say all that like to bypass it, and we'll talk about it probably later.
Bypass.
To bypass, I bypassed the compressor.
I love that scene so much.
It's so good. My biggest issue remaining is the end of the movie, and I said this in a chat earlier. I roll my eyes every time. R2 has them the whole time. R2 has the part of the map that has Luke on it the whole time. And they say in like the second act or something like, sadly, no, I don't think he, or I don't remember exactly 3PO's line, but I don't know how, I don't think he could have that or whatever. And then he's like, sadly, he may never wake up, whatever. And then magically in the third act, at the best timing possible, he wakes up and we find Luke. I just think it happens so conveniently and so easy, and that and R2 just has it the whole time.
I thought we knew he had it.
No.
I thought we knew he had an incomplete because that's why we needed BB-8 is because he had the missing piece.
No. So
BB-8 fills in the gap in the map that R2 has, but they needed the gap filled before they could plot anything.
I don't. Is that correct?
I think Mitch might be spitting right now.
What's he saying? Oh. Oh, Fortnite. I don't care.
In Fortnite, yeah.
I just okay. So even if that's the case, him waking up after the entire movie happened is still kind of lame to me. Like, it's still like, I don't know. R2 has had such a life, and you're gonna like sideline him the entire time just to keep him asleep until the right moment. It's pretty weak sauce to me. So I don't like that at all. I never have, and every time I watch the movie, I'm like, ugh. I roll big time there. But that's my big issue at the end of the movie. It just feels like, oh man, we've had so much greatness right back to back, and then this. It's just so easy. But
I like it.
That is shocking to me. Like, genuinely shocking to me. It's so lazy.
I don't think it's. I think it's the same kind of deal as Luke being missing. It's there to just kind of be like, why? What's what happened? What's like, why is this the case? And to me, it's not so much a sideline. It'd be a sideline if him waking up wasn't so important. But it feels like it makes a big to-do about R2 because of all of that. But I always kind of took it as like, R2 had part of the map and was just like without the rest of the map, had nothing to do, and just we know that he goes into like low power mode of his own accord. And I got the feeling, and then apparently it's confirmed in the novelization, but to me it just felt as if like BB-8 shows up with the map and conversations are happening about the map, like that R2 like in some droid in low power mode like hears that and is made aware of like the presence of the missing piece and like boots himself up. To me, it's not so much a magical thing. It's just like he's just been keeping himself in low power mode until something were to change, and he hears that the map is like finished, and he boots up. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that moment of him waking up where you're like, oh my gosh, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
So
That's crazy. I'm shocked that you like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm with James on it. It's one of those
Seriously,
things.
you guys, that's crazy.
It's one
to
of
me.
those things that's never bothered me, and I've always had that mindset of like, hey, he's not like completely shut off to where he's unaware of like his surroundings. Like I always had the thought that like, yeah, he can probably hear what's happening around him. Or C-3PO can be like, ting ting, hey, it's time to get up.
you ever go in bucket of bolts and then it kicks him?
But yeah, I don't know. I like it. And I think it does just add to that like overall mystery to me. And I think that's one of the whenever this movie came out and having like that 2-year wait until The Last Jedi, that was one of the strengths of this film, I think, because there's so much mystery behind why Luke was gone. And I could do nothing but theorize for those 2 years, like probably to an unhealthy degree.
The theorizing might have hurt.
It definitely
Not my
hurt some
experience.
people.
No, I'm just no.
Yeah.
Some people.
Oh yeah, 100% some people.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike Zero.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
yeah,
I can understand where you're coming from. If that to me, your critique isn't like unfathomable to me. I kind of like, because of how all the familiarity of this movie, I think having R2, like there's just something mysterious and like intentionally like question begging about like why is R2 like that? What's gonna bring him out of this? What's like, it's like the oh, what do you call it? What's the story term about the gun? Chekhov's gun. It's like you're obviously not going to introduce R2 in this state to not like re-involve him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just kind of waiting for something to happen, and then to find out that he's been waiting for the missing piece. To me, that's always kind of worked for me. So if it were like a magical power that woke him up, I'd be like, okay, whatever, plot kind of stuff. But I
didn't think it was magical power. I just thought it was coincidence.
Yeah.
Like
no, I think it's I think he is. I'm with you. I think he's kind of aware of his surroundings. And Gabe just made a good comment. He said, "How would they know what part of the map they needed if R2 didn't have the rest of it?"
Fair.
So it's like they're aware that they've got part of a map. They've got a missing piece, and then BB-8 shows up. I'm just thinking like BB-8's got it in his processor or whatever you want to call it now. And to me, I can buy the idea that R2 in his low power mode is just in some sort of scanning mode, so that whenever that piece like is kind of picked up, it triggers some sort of reactivation.
And I'll say this too. I mean, with this conversation, maybe next time I watch it, it'll like click a little bit more with me, because especially in Star Wars, but in any movie, but especially in Star Wars, I always, if I have something that I have a problem with, if I can like rationalize it and make it work for me, I want that. I don't want to dislike the end of this movie. What?
I said I always want to love Star Wars.
Yeah. Like I want to love. I love so much of this movie. I don't want to roll my eyes near the end of it. I want to love them, all of it. Like, I think there's so much to love about it, and to have that moment that frustrates me. Maybe after this, because what y'all are saying makes sense. Combined with what Gabe is saying, I can piece that together as I think about it more. I'll be thinking about that more. Because like I said, that's like the last big thing that I roll my eyes about with this movie. There's, aside from a line here or there, but like, that's nitpicking at this point. But yeah,
I think it could probably have been explained more in it. Not that I need like the kind of somebody to in the movie to tell me exactly,
Oh,
but
R2 has woken up, and because he woke,
yeah.
yeah.
R2 entered low power mode with scanning for the thing. BB-8 has approached with a
I don't know. Maybe the Force did wake R2 up.
maybe.
I
Well,
mean-
we've got like the fictional thing about the what's the droid that blows up, and like there's some sort of like legends material that was like that. Was it R5 in A New Hope? That R5 basically did the droid version of like falling on his sword so that R2 could get picked.
Oh, right. No, it's not even legend. It is the a certain point of view books. It's basically just short stories written from like each different authors pick little background characters to write a story about, and it's not necessarily canon, but they're really fun. And yeah, you're right. They did one for R5, and he did
I need
in
that
that
to not be canon.
in that he did fall on his sword for R2. They go in, there's like a Max Rebo story, and they're really fun. They're
That's
fun little
epic.
stories, but they're not to be taken as canon necessarily. That's awesome though.
Well, they're true from a certain point of view.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But let's get back to what we love about this thing. I hate talking about my qualms so much.
Let's oh, James, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I love Kylo.
Mm.
Yeah.
All I was gonna.
Yeah.
Kylo's such a cool character.
We
Like-
mentioned it on the last stream, but like and then also at the start of this, like him being like a complete opposite of Anakin and Darth Vader is just amazing. And like I mentioned on the last stream, but the rage behind him and seeing him lash out, like people are like, some people are critical of it, like, oh, he's throwing a temper tantrum or whatever, and like, yeah, he's throwing a tantrum, but like, do you blame the guy? Like, he wants something so bad, and it's like in his grasp, but he can't get it, and so he gets mad, and he wants to be Vader so bad,
Yeah.
but he'll never be him. You'll never be him, bro. That's literally who Kylo is, but it's awesome. It works so well.
Also, a Skywalker having a tantrum? No.
Heck,
Yeah.
Would never.
Also, it's such a silly thing to me too, because it's like, isn't that terrifying? Like a powerful Force user with a giant lightsaber throwing it. Like, we talk about like, dude, if you were to give like the mindset of a toddler to like a grown, strong adult, like that would be terrifying. Not that Kylo's a toddler, but like the fact that he's like as powerful as he is, but he's as like just emotionally unstable as
Yeah.
he is.
That's exactly
like-
what I was going to say. Emotionally unstable. Imagine the emotions within you if you were being literally like pulled in two separate ways by different parts of you. Like you want this, you have this desire, but you're being pulled toward the light, like you're fighting it at all times. You're going to be unstable. You're going to lose your cool. And I love that part where he's like freaking out in that room, and the stormtroopers come around the corner and just like, oh, never mind, and they just turn they turn around and walk the other way. It's so funny.
And
But,
like it's used for like comedic purposes, but at the same time, like it plays into that, like, oh, he's actually like terrifying. Let's like just not mess with him, because he'd probably kill them.
And they get to play it for comedic purposes because that's not the only way they play it. They play it that way for that scene, but they've also like showed him, freeze a blaster bolt midair, take a bowcaster, and pound the crap out of himself while spilling blood. Like, he's not a joke. He's like, he means business. And I love the design and the voice and everything. I think it's super iconic to me, and it works both ways for me. Like, it works in just the immediate kind of like, that's a cool mask, that's a cool voice, therefore I like it. But it also works in that kind of character meta way of like, but it's a, I mean, he's putting on a modulator because he doesn't sound like James Earl Jones. He's putting on a black helmet to look, because he's got a freaking, you know, altar made for Vader. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's also a very clear and desperate attempt to be like Vader. So I think that's really like, I think that's just such a compelling aspect to his character. And I don't know about y'all, like, this was my introduction to Adam Driver,
Mine
and
too.
I
Same.
wasn't really following a lot of like the lead up to this. I was just watching, you know, TV spots and trailers and all that. But I did not know what he looked like. Uh, and whenever he takes his helmet off the first time, I was kind of in shock. Like, the hair is just kind of all unkempt and
Yeah.
messy, and he's just got this kind of like Adam Driver already kind of has a distinct look to him,
Yeah.
and he's like, I was like, that's not what I expected you to look like. Like, I had this weird moment where I'm like, you're kind of young and derpy. Like, what's like, I don't know. I it added like a compelling layer to his Vader wannabeism, where he's like, he's just a young goofy kid ultimately who's filled with insane amounts of rage,
Mm-hmm.
and an insane amount of raw power. Uh, and I don't know, all of that mixed into like one character to me is just, sometimes he, like, even in spite of what Rise of Skywalker does to him, there's still times where I'm like, I still sometimes think he's my favorite villain of like the series. I just love Kylo Ren so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think like obviously we get, you know, all of this like lore and stuff with like Vader and Anakin with the prequel trilogy, but like if I'm just looking like from trilogy to trilogy, I think Kylo's probably my favorite. Just cuz like they do so much with him in the Force Awakens and in the Last Jedi. If you look at Vader in like the original trilogy, like he's the same character up until the end, right? And you don't really get like a lot of uh you don't get like this big like arc with his character across the films, but it works for that. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything else. Like I think Vader's perfect the way that he is, but there's just something about like how different Kylo is, like not just even like in terms of Star Wars, but like, you know, I haven't really seen a villain like that in any other like big trilogy franchise, you know?
Yeah.
So there's just something very unique about him, that I resonate with a lot more than a lot of other villains in a lot of things. And also, I know we were like talking about the ending, but every single time I see this scene, whenever we get to when Kylo actually goes to kill Han, um, the visual storytelling in that moment is
Yep.
phenomenal.
The lights.
Phenomenal. The lights are so perfect. And I gotta say, I don't know if we said it yet. This is like one of the best looking films visually, and it's gonna be timeless. Like it is timeless. 10 years later, it still looks better than a lot of movies that we're getting today, um, because of the practical effects, but also the CGI just looks incredible.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks
Um,
great.
but the blue and red lighting
Mm.
in that room is fantastic, and just really playing into like he actually was struggling, like being pulled between the light and the dark there. And then you also just to add another bit of symbolism there, you get the actual light in the
Yeah.
sky and it starts fading with the
Mm-hmm.
clouds. um it's just
Like even while he's saying like, even while you can tell like there's that pull between the light and the dark with him. Half his face is red and half of it
yep,
is blue.
yep,
Like, and then when the
so
light
good,
goes down, it's all red, and you're like,
yeah,
I know it's coming. And
yeah,
but it's, yeah, it's so strong. It's so powerful.
yeah. And like just imagine how different that scene would have been if it weren't for the symbolism there, if it weren't for the lighting to be like that. Because
And the music.
yeah, and the music, but like you would have just thought like, okay, like no, he was actually just gonna kill Han. Like I wouldn't have really felt the same level of like, oh, he's actually really being torn. It would have felt a little bit more like he's putting on a show. But with that like added symbolism and the lighting, they do such a good job of like really selling like up until that very last moment, he actually like probably wouldn't have killed them, you know? Um so I don't know. It makes his character feel so much more powerful to me. Um and yeah, I think that they just set him up perfectly for the Last Jedi with
Yeah.
this. Um
And they set him up so perfectly for like the final part of the third act of this movie. You know, like I still I mean I won't go over the whole like the duels in this blah blah blah. I love the last fight here in the forest so much. And like again, just to talk about how much I love Kylo more, like at this point in his life, he even said like I know what I have to do. I just don't know if I have the strength to do it. Like, and then Last Jedi confirms, you know, and the act splits you to the bone. Like this like tore at him, and it didn't give him the satisfaction he was looking for.
Yeah.
It didn't give that conclusion of I'm finally cut off from the light. And so he's now got this baggage of like, I just killed my dad. I'm still not in the place that I thought I would be. And he's also like, especially after his conversations with Rey, the beginnings, I think, of his desire for Rey are in this movie. You know, I don't think it's a Last Jedi edition. I think it's here. I think he would love to be able to see Rey kind of join him as somebody looking for their place. Um,
You need a
and he's
teacher.
yeah, he's in more need of companionship at this point, especially after what he just did, than ever. Uh, and having you got to imagine Chewie was probably like an uncle to him, and Chewie's just shot him with a
Mm-hmm.
bowcaster,
yeah.
and like it just Driver is a generational talent. Like he is one of the greatest actors working right now, and the way he just channels all of that into this like confused rage that just needs to be pointed at something in the last one, like when he's just swinging around and like trees are getting cut in half in that
Yeah.
forest, and he's just like leaving a trail of blood. I love the whole traitor line when he sees like, gosh man, he is incredible. And like I'm sorry, but nobody's, you know, A New Hope is my favorite of the series, so obviously this isn't a negative there, but nobody's going into like the Vader Obi-Wan fight with this same level of like, oh my gosh, everything that's led to this, especially not before, you know, the prequels.
I'd go as far to say no one's ever put a performance like this in Star Wars before.
Yeah, Kylo, Adam Driver, this might be my favorite. Luke in Last Jedi is right there, but
Luke in The Last Jedi and in Return of the Jedi. Dude, Luke in Return of the Jedi is really freaking good.
oh yeah,
Yes,
yeah, he's awesome. I just think, man, the everything that Adam Driver was given to work with these first two movies.
Natalie
is
Portman
just-
and I can't even say it.
I'm asking. No, I'm
no,
begging.
I'm begging you to help us.
incredible.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. The Kylo Ren was between this and The Last Jedi started and only added on to being the coolest big bad that we've had in Star Wars. Like such a unique twist on it, and the idea that we had to have to shoehorn Palpatine in just is insanely frustrating to me on
The
so
throne
many
was
levels.
empty. It was his. Dang it, dude.
Yeah, he took it, and it. Oh, it's so eternally frustrating to me that they went in that direction, because you literally had an all-time great villain right here. Like he's there, the potential is there. He's already on the way. They do such cool things too. like visually with him in, really the visual stuff in The Last Jedi, and it carried over into The Rise of Skywalker. I love the connection to Rey, the Force Skype, the connection to Rey. I think it's such a freaking sick idea. And the way that it's executed is incredible. But in this movie, I do love how raw he is, even though like he's clearly been trained to a point, and he's very powerful. But he's also, he calls Rey like, she's untrained but stronger than she knows. I think Kylo is trained but also stronger than he knows. Like I think that like both of them are so powerful, and I love the idea of darkness rises and the light to meet it, and these two characters like coming into their own together as the trilogy comes to a head. I think in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, everything that happens with both of these characters with each other is so freaking compelling. And so I'm not gonna hammer on The Rise of Skywalker too much, but that it's just we have so much potential there, and it is really frustrating how it ended. But like, man, with this movie, what we get, and with The Last Jedi, Kylo is an all-time villain. Like the seeds are there, the execution is there through two movies. I'm with you, James. This was my first introduction to Adam Driver too. I had never seen him in anything before. When he took the mask off, it was a really like, I did not expect you to look like that. I don't think I've seen anyone who looks like you. And then his voice actually is pretty low. Like it wasn't fully modulated, super low. But I like such a unique like actor, and everything I've seen him in since then, he's just crushed it. He's so talented. And so, yeah, having him deliver these performances in the sequel trilogy was such a treat. And yeah, I think he's great. And I can't wait to talk more about the end sequence. I mean, we can just keep intermittently talking about it, but I love even like the ground splitting in two between them and like opening up there, like super symbolic but really cool. I don't know, there's so many little things. I think this movie sets up these two characters on a journey to mirror each other in a lot of ways, but
there's just so much good mirroring across like between these
incredible mirroring. And then The Last Jedi carries that torch and does it so well, and takes unexpected turns. Like halfway through it, I actually thought, could Rey turn? Like she really could, I think. And wait, could Kylo turn back? He actually could. I was asking these questions, and a lot of that is due to the setup in this movie, because you really see him torn apart even in this movie.
They as people are like tied together, like
a dyad, you might say.
Yeah, exactly. But like their fates feel intermingled in ways that you don't always feel that with like protagonists and antagonists in a trilogy. And Gabe made a comment where he said making the villain a main character in Star Wars alone puts the lie to the A New Hope remake accusations, because it's true. Yeah,
agreed.
Like it's not even just Star Wars, but most movies, antagonists often don't feel like main characters. They're there to be villains and to say the villain lines. But Kylo feels like he's a character with an arc and with depth and with a lot more going on than
it almost feels like half of a protagonist.
Yeah.
He's the antagonist too, but yeah, it's so cool. He's such a cool character. So much there.
Yeah, there really is. Oh man.
I also love the brotherly bickering between him and Hux.
Yeah. And we get a little reference to prequels with the clones, the clone line there.
Yep.
When he says maybe we should go back to cloning.
Yeah. Which I like.
Yeah.
Wow, he must have not hated the prequels.
Uh,
Let's see.
Anything else stand out?
um, I also want to say one, I guess, like, kind of like, I don't know, my final thing. Um, there's so much that we could talk about this movie and never have enough time to. And I feel like we talked about a lot of the stuff that I really love about it, but I also love like the actual very end of this film.
Oh yeah,
When we go to, why am I blanking on the
Octo.
Octu? Yeah, I don't know why I was blanking on the planet name. Um, but we had mentioned this on the last stream. The Last Jedi could have ended in the Falcon. The Force Awakens could have done that too.
Mm-hmm. True.
Because I was like, oh dang, we got to the ending, we get into the Falcon, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's still like a little bit more left. Like we have to go to Octu, we have to see Luke Skywalker. Could have ended in the Falcon, and you know, JJ could, or Ryan Johnson still could have done what he did. But I really, really love the way this ends. And Rey actually getting to Luke and having that just be a massive cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Of them staring at each other and him, like, there's a lot of emotion behind
Yeah.
Mark Hamill's face in this scene.
Great facial performance.
Yes. And I don't know, like, again, when I watched this in theaters before, you know, we got any trailers or anything for The Last Jedi, like that mystery of wanting to know where, like, why, like, we know where Luke has been now, but why? Asking that question.
And I think we all knew that he was gonna throw the lightsaber over his shoulder.
I wasn't taken off guard by that at all.
No,
not at all.
But yeah, like, I think it's just shot beautifully, and
the helicopter shot, just kind of spinning around them, is so cool.
Yeah.
Jedi steps too.
Gosh,
the track,
it's one of the
walking up the steps.
Star Wars tracks.
It's so good.
Incredible.
This movie to me has, like, it added at least three additions to, like, the all-time great, because there's Rey's theme and Jedi steps
and March of the Resistance, right?
And well, I was counting Rey's theme and Jedi steps as kind of the same thing.
Oh, gotcha.
Also adding Kylo, because I think
good call.
But I
good call.
Kylo's theme so much.
It's sick. Yeah, good call.
March of the Resistance.
Also, Also, Poe has a theme, and it never gets talked about, and it's not as like earwormy. Like it's not stuck in my head right now. Like, but I know that it's the music that's playing as Poe's doing his thing, rescuing everybody, and and Finn's like, "That's one hell of a pilot." Like the music going there, that's Poe's theme, and it's fantastic. It really is heroic, and it's awesome. I love it so much.
The theme that plays whenever Hosnian Prime blows up is also tragically beautiful.
Yes,
that track is doing more work. Well, the visuals and that track working together are trying to pull so much weight for that scene.
They are,
and they're doing good.
They pull every ounce of emotion out of made possible.
The shot of the laser is mind-blowingly cool, and that music and everything.
And then also them picking like a person to focus on as they're looking. It makes it like a little more heartbreaking. Because you start to think about these are all one individuals, but it ultimately is just frustrating. But the music and the visuals do so much lifting there. You're right, and they're beautiful. I think John Williams on this and The Last Jedi, there's just so much cooking he was doing. And the one that stands out too, it's another rendition of March of the Resistance, but The Last Jedi on Crate. It's like even though the Resistance is smaller than it's ever been, the march is bigger than it's ever been, and it's super epic. It's so
Yeah.
good. Ugh, what a theme.
What a theme. What a movie. Jim, what were you about to say?
Well, we could have. It's late enough to where I guess it doesn't need to be its own topic, even though this could easily be a topic, and like we've talked a little bit about it. But just the moment to moment direction of this movie
Mm,
is just unbelievably phenomenal. Like the act, like that, the scene that you talked about, the oneer with Poe flying around, blasting everything, is unreal. I think the escape from Jakku is just
dude.
incredible. Everything on Starkiller base, like, it's like we forget, like this is like these are great scenes, but like there is somebody behind the camera. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much direction happening, and like there is just an energy to all of this. The camera has had like 8 Red Bulls. Like it's never it's rarely ever sitting still. It's just
Yeah.
what he does with it, zipping it around all over. This movie just moves at such an effortless pace,
Yeah.
and is just so much constant fun, and it makes conversations feel fun and peppy, so that even in our downtime we're still like there's still something exciting. Like after the escape from Jakku, just Ray and Finn like kind of walking in circles around each other, being like, "When you did this, oh, but when you like,"
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's like, it's not just it's not the volume kind of stand, cross your arms and say lines. It's like character, like actors being encouraged by the director to like explore the set, walk around. You're a human being, like
Yeah.
just be alive in a place, and it's just gonna make things feel so much better. So I think the direction of this movie is like absolutely top tier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couple of moments I wanna shout out. Number one, the scene I just kind of brought up with Poe, but like the beginning of it when they're all like flying across the water,
Oh
like with the X
Yeah.
wings come, and it's like this foggy, you don't see them, but then that first shot from the side of the X wings coming,
yeah, to me that's iconic now.
it's iconic
With
on
the
the
water
the
kind of being
water,
picked
and
up.
the X wings look so freaking sick.
Yeah.
I love Pose specifically,
Yeah.
but that shot is so good. Also, you talked about this earlier with the intro into the movie with the stormtroopers coming down onto Jakku. The actual shot of them landing, it's like this quick, like
Yeah.
I can't even explain it other than, but
See what that
but
sound.
like the camera is moving so fast, and then when the door opens is when it stops. It just like is the quickest little, and it just makes you feel so like, I don't know, it's so
Crap's about to happen.
yeah,
Like,
and it's so kinetic. It's so like,
yeah.
oh, like there's so much happening right now. Yeah, and JJ just does that with the camera. In every one of his movies, there's something like that happening where I'm like,
Almost scene by
wow,
scene, something like that
yeah,
happening.
Yeah.
That's just so cool.
There's also a lot of really cool Dutch angles in this movie. There's one that happens. It's actually the camera like kind of tilts to Dutch angle, like so it goes like from like a regular angle, and then it like tilts a little bit to Dutch. But it's right outside of Maz Kanata's palace, and Han and Chewie are like walking down, like they're running down the stairs, and the camera like kind of tilts to the Dutch angle, and you see like the stormtroopers in the background. Such like a cool, like smooth, like camera movement that he had there. Um, and then also speaking of direction, uh, the Force like vision, really Force nightmare
ooh,
that
yeah, good
Ray
call.
It's
has
a cool sequence.
is awesome. I love the way it like transitions into the like different segments with the editing. And like seeing the Knights of Ren, who were unfortunately not utilized at all. but were really cool in that brief second that we got.
Rey is a little girl.
Yeah,
So
like
heartbreaking.
that's another scene that just has great direction, and even her Rey's interaction with Maz right after it, her being afraid of the Force, and like I don't know, it's just all around. There's so many like individual moments where JJ's direction is incredible because he'll just be keeping that camera moving like all directors should be doing.
And whenever it's not, it's for like it's that huge wide angle of Kylo and Han on the bridge, you know, like
which is
for
so
the sake
sick.
of-
Yeah. So well directed, really well edited. I love specifically that scene you're talking about, Drew. The editing on that scene is insane. It's so powerful, so cool. And I guess we'll never learn how she got that lightsaber.
We're still waiting on that.
Another story for another time.
We learned about it in like one of the books, I think.
Of course we do.
So if you want to go read that, you can.
I'm about to start my biggest anti-Star Wars comic and book agenda ever.
Oh, it's a shame too because there are really good books. I haven't read a ton of them, but the few I've read are really, really good.
Star Wars is a visual medium.
I agree, which is why I've only read a couple. But they're like, I mean, Bloodline is really good, and Light of the Jedi, it's incredible. I need a movie based off that book actually. But yeah, it's yeah, I agree largely. Star Wars is a visual medium, which is why I never feel the pull to the book.
Well, 'cause what we said in the
book
Star Wars
side.
Celebration episode was like there's no series where aesthetic and sound design is as important to me as it is in Star Wars. And like you may say he ignited his lightsaber, but I'm not hearing that, you know, which means I'm missing a huge element of what draws me to the series. So
yeah. Well, if you listen on Audible, they do sound effects.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It is actually pretty good. But it's not the same. I'm with you. I'm trying to think of anything else that's like super.
I don't like the Rathtar scene, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I always go back and forth on it a little bit because I like Han in it.
Yeah, the preamble to it with Conja Club, with all of that.
Yeah,
stuff
I was
there.
about to shout out. Conja Club is like an all timer. I would quote that all the time.
Tell that the Conja Club. Yeah,
so good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind the Rathtar scene. I think the whole sequence goes on too long. Because like it could be there, but if it was just a little bit tighter, I think it would work a bit better.
I think one of the problems is one, yeah, I definitely agree that it runs on too long, but I also just think it feels more like everything else, like all the movement of everything else generally feels pretty organic and natural. It's the one scene that feels like, when was the last time we had an action scene?
That's exactly what it feels like.
We're not due for another one in like 15 minutes. Let's just say he had a monster on board. Like, it just feels like it's it's about time for one, I guess. We didn't really set up why there'd be one, so let's just say there's like it feels kind of out of the blue and there just so there's less of a gap between action sequences.
I've always felt that. That's really well said.
I don't love the design. I don't love all of his tentacle monsters. I've had enough of tentacle monsters in Star Wars.
The design's fine to me. It's really just the scene itself.
I don't like the design. I think it's dumb.
I like him rolling around.
See, I was going to say, I don't like. I'm tired of. Give me cool shapes. Give me cool monsters, not dumb fleshy tentacle balls.
That was an interesting choice of words there. Oh man,
I stand by it.
I do really love the scene, really all of the interactions with Rey and Han, I think are really great. When she's like
I've never seen so
surprising
much.
him, impressing him,
Oh.
and then but then that scene, it always gets me, and it reminds me of, it kind of reminds me of a scene in the Bad Batch too. Actually, it's very similar, but uh when Rey first sees the trees on that one
Yeah,
planet, she's like,
she's
I
like, I
never
never knew
knew
there
there
was
was this much green in
Yeah.
the entire universe.
The look that
Like,
Han gives her.
I
is, like,
know it's
he
so
decides to
strong.
like basically be her adopted dad in that
Yeah,
moment.
at that moment, and then, but like the fact that, yeah, she's been on she's been on Jakku her entire life, and that's all she knows. And so these are basically the first trees she's ever seeing, and it's this place with the water and the trees everywhere. It's
Yeah.
so gorgeous, and just like this idea that, oh my gosh, what have I been missing staying put?
Yeah.
Waiting for, what am I waiting for? Like, I know she's still struggling with that. Like, she's ultimately still wants to go back, but that seems super powerful. It reminds me of on the Bad Batch when Omega, when the Omega, like, it's like the first planet they stop on, uh, and she's like, "What is this? What is this?" And Tech is like, "That would be dirt." Like, she's never seen dirt before, and it's like, it's beautiful to her, and it's just like, I don't know. There's something about that, like, this person who's just been in the same place forever, they finally made it out, and they're seeing this new, they're seeing what they've been missing the whole time. It's beautiful to me, and I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's how a lot of the uh, sequel haters, especially the Last Jedi haters, once they finally have their third eye open, that's the exact feeling that they'll have.
They need to
Um,
go and touch grass.
The third eye
they
open.
do need to
Gosh.
touch grass. Yeah.
I love that we've already covered The Last Jedi, and then our next Star Wars episode was
The
one
Force
movie
Awakens.
back.
Yeah. It feels right doing The Force Awakens this year, though, since
Oh, totally.
10 years. Crazy.
If you all haven't watched it, I know we probably need to end soon. If y'all haven't watched it, there is a bonus, like, documentary
Oh,
on.
I've watched it before.
Yeah,
It's
and
great.
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really good. And like, you really see the scale of the forest set on Starkiller Base. It is just
Incredible.
mind-boggling to me that that is all a set.
Yeah.
It's
Because they don't make it feel like a set.
They don't. It feels so real, and that's why, one of the reasons I love this movie. It's the perfect blend. It feels like a throwback to early 2000s when um Mitchell, 2 years so you can talk about Last Jedi again. Yeah.
Can't
Not like we're not going to talk about it every podcast at some point anyway. Um but it feels like a throwback to like early 2000s, when, like, super late 90s, when CGI was starting to enter the fray. It was getting pretty big, but also practical effects were still huge. It was this really great blend of the two, with like the Phantom Menace and like um the Lord of the Rings movies. Like, it was the perfect marriage of the two, and it truly felt like a tool that has been, like, by, like, in a ridiculous amount, overused. The balance has been thrown off a bit. This feels like a really good marriage of practical and CGI, and it that's, I think that's why it's so timeless. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like just having on set uh stuff like the forest, but then also being on location for Jakku and all these other planets. It makes everything so much more convincing.
Yeah.
And they do a good job, honestly, differentiating the look of Jakku and Tatooine. Like, yeah, there's similarities because they both have sand, and Anakin hates that. But
And it is everywhere.
it is everywhere. um, but you do get the feeling that it's a very different planet.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that they put that attention to detail.
Do y'all want to do ranking real quick, or
Yeah,
I'm down.
let's cap it off with the ranking.
just real quick Star Wars ranking?
We're gonna
What do y'all-
list
what
off
do y'all
every
give this
show, every
movie?
book, every comic.
So I'm at a 4.5 out of 5. I think if they could have fixed the world building, this would have been everything I want from this kind of Star Wars movie.
I have it as a high 4. I mean, it's 4 stars for me.
It's the same as Final Reckoning.
That's a low 4 though.
This was a 5-star for me. It has been since
Look
I
at that.
watched it
4.5, 5.
the first time, and it's been that way for me. You know, it's like how I view Interstellar, where it's like both of those movies are masterpieces to me, and they've got problems, but I can't be like,
Interstellar has so few problems though.
yeah, but I mean this does too.
Yeah.
It's pretty big ones for me, but
Yeah,
but it's a high 4, and James, 4 stars is good, right?
I would
Yeah,
not
but
feel
the world apart that this and I'm just gonna be fixated on this right now.
but this is one of those movies where it's like anytime I think about like lowering it, I'm like I just can't do it. I love it too much to bring myself to bring it down.
I think
it's oh good.
I think it's just because it's like it's similar to A New Hope to me in that it's like just the moment to moment watching this, sitting down, each scene leading to that. Like I just have fun.
Yeah,
It's so
constantly in
fun.
this movie.
Yeah,
it's a good
it's so
kind of fun too. But yeah, let's start off with you, Michael. Let's get your.
Do we go
ranking.
backwards or forwards? do
I'm
you think?
starting at the bottom.
Okay,
going
I'll go
up.
from the
Yeah.
bottom too. All right, so and I'm doing live action. Well, not just live action. I'm doing theatrical releases, so that includes the Clone Wars movie. That's just what I have on my letterboxed. So I have at number 12 the Clone Wars movie. It's not a real movie. I have number 11, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 10, there's a huge gap from number 11 to number 10, by the way. I genuinely like to love the rest of the movies. Number 10, Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 9, Attack of the Clones. That switched last time we watched these movies. Remember?
That's right.
Yeah, episode 2 actually surpassed episode 1. Number 8, I have Solo. Number 7 is where I have The Force Awakens. And I will say number 5 through 8 are constantly going like those are the movers for sure. There are some days where The Force Awakens might be 5, but right now it's sitting at number 7 and I feel good about it. Number 6, I have Revenge of the Sith. Number 5, I have Rogue One. Number 4, I have Return of the Jedi. 3, I have The Last Jedi. 2, I have A New Hope. And 1, I have Empire.
Very nice.
Yeah, there's some overlap with some of mine, but we'll get to that. James, what's yours?
Number 12 for me, I have The Clone Wars, also not a real movie.
Not a real movie.
11, Rise of Skywalker. 10, Attack of the Clones. 9, The Phantom Menace. I'm sorry, Michael. 8, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that hurts. That really hurts.
7, Solo. 6, Rogue One. 5, Revenge of the Sith. 4, The Force Awakens. 3, The Last Jedi. 2, Empire Strikes Back. And number 1, A New Hope.
Heck yeah, the number 1 is in the right spot.
On mine, you mean? Yeah, I know.
No,
Empire.
No.
To me, those are the top 2.
No matter
they can be
order.
be in either order, but I just think those have to be the top 2 on any list.
Just as long as it's not the final order.
Yeah.
So my number 12 is the Clone Wars movie.
Not a real movie.
Not a real movie. Number 11, The Rise of Skywalker. Not surprising.
I'm shocked.
Number 10, Attack of the Clones. Last time when I rewatched them with you guys, Attack of the Clones was my number 9. But that changed again when I saw The Phantom Menace in theaters.
Love
So
it.
that's some recency bias. Number 9, episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Number 8, Solo. I freaking love Solo, by the way.
It's great.
Number 7, Return of the Jedi.
Oh God, you guys.
But listen. Here's my caveat. All right, it's a 4.5 for me. So I love Return of the Jedi.
So yeah, you love. I mean, you're like me, basically. Once you get to number 10, you love all these.
Oh, hold up. Wait 1 second.
Uh-oh.
I think I actually that was in the wrong spot for me. I put it in the wrong spot. No, number 7 is Revenge of the Sith.
Oh.
Yeah. Then number 6 is Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
When did this change?
When did this happen? Oh
I
my
just
goodness.
realized I accidentally put them in the wrong spot.
No, reverse it. You had it right. Remember the Sith is better than Return of the Jedi.
Nah.
Number 5 is Rogue One.
Yeah,
Rogue One jumped up for me a ton after watching it when I watched the Andor finale. I loved Rogue One whenever it first came out, and then on rewatches didn't like it as much. It just didn't have the same staying power for me. But Andor really, really helped me to like see for the actual like greatness that it is. And yeah, again, recency bias. I need to you know, I need to rewatch all of these to like really solidify these, because these are ever changing, obviously. Number 4, The Last Jedi. Number 3, Empire Strikes Back.
Oh wait.
Number 2, The
No.
Force Awakens. Number 1, A New Hope.
Okay. I love it too, but that's insane. Number 2?
Yeah, it's my second favorite, man. It has been.
Above Empire.
Yeah.
So
And now listen here. These are just like, this is my personal ranking. This isn't like necessarily me saying what is like the best, because you know, I would put A New Hope and Empire like back to back if I were like, oh hey, like this is just based on like, this is top tier quality. But
Star Wars
man.
more than anything has my heart and head just like fighting each other on what I like the best. Because sometimes Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, and I don't care what anybody says, but it's not the best one. But I love it. I love it so much. I can't imagine putting The Force Awakens that high, but I do, even though I love it. I'm shocked by Return of the Jedi being higher than Revenge of the Sith. That was the big surprise for me on this one. I'm here for it.
No, we're not here for it.
Yes, we are.
Dude, I
No,
love
Revenge of the
Jedi.
Sith.
Yeah.
It's so good. Return of the Jedi is better.
No, it's not. Its first act is so unrelated to anything.
So
And its
is
second act.
so
isn't
is the
even very
first
good.
act of Revenge of the
That's
Sith.
not true. That's not true. That's not true.
It's basically an episode of the Clone Wars, and then you get into the real story.
It's not true.
I'm just being stupid.
That's
Oh
it.
man, this is
We
where the
gotta
fun
do
begins.
We gotta do Revenge of the Sith episode.
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of on something there. Actually, I'm gonna think about that.
Oh no. All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap this up, because it's starting to storm out here, and I don't want the thunder to
I'm
get
about
backed
to
up.
fall asleep in my chair.
We're only at 2.5 hours though, guys.
Yeah.
I've made a-
Well,
I've made a
actually,
huge
hey,
mistake.
take
No,
away
not
like
actually. This is-
15 to 20 minutes of like troubleshooting,
Fair.
because that's what happened to us. But
Fair.
Riverside let us down. but it is what it is. Thank you for everyone who tuned in, and for everyone who's going to end up listening to this on the podcast feed. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, so you can tune in to our live streams. Also join our Facebook group, Banter Fodder, a film and television discussion group. That's where the fun really begins, and we get deeper into our arguments there.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. But no, it's a fun time in there. We've got polls from Jimmy Jam, and we got other fun stuff that people post. So definitely join us there if you aren't already in there. If you want a fun, chill movie and TV discussion group. And till next time, go support your local theaters, watch some movies. All right.
Ooh, heard it. Yeah.
Yep. It's time to jump out of this. When it thunders, it rains. I know it's the other way around, but
I was like,
yeah. Go watch. There's a lot of movies out right now, actually. So go watch Ballerina. Go watch Wes Anderson's new movie. It's not stupid. Michael's dumb.
Don't watch that.
Go watch Final Reckoning. Don't watch Minecraft movie.
That's right.
All right. See y'all later.